You're listening to All Things SEP, the official Southeast Polk Community School District podcast. And here's our host, Superintendent Dr. Dirk Halupnik.
Hello and welcome to this episode of the All Things SEP podcast. This podcast is intended to be a regular series of brief, informative updates highlighting some of the great things that are happening throughout the Southeast Polk School District. I'm your host, Dirk Halupnik, and I have the honor and privilege of serving as a superintendent here at Southeast Polk. But I only get to say that for another few weeks, as I'm retiring at the end of this month after more than 35 years in education in Iowa, the last 11 proudly here at Southeast Polk as your superintendent. So I think it's only appropriate that on today's podcast, we're going to talk about the upcoming transition in leadership at SEP. Joining us today is our soon-to-be new Southeast Polk School District Superintendent, Dr. Tony Alysworth. Welcome, Tony.
Thanks, Dirk. It's my pleasure to join you. I'm an avid podcast listener, but in full disclosure, this will be my first time participating in one, so I'm excited but a little nervous.
Well, thanks for taking the time to stop by and talk with us, and deep breaths, this is just a conversation. I do have a few questions. Tell us a little bit about your career path and what experiences shaped how you lead today.
Yeah, a question I anticipated, so we'll start with that one. I started my career as a teacher, coach, and activity sponsor at Waukee. I always tell people that that's been long enough ago that if you can imagine, Waukee at that point in time was a 3A school with one high school. Wow. So a lot's changed since then. As a first-year teacher, my principal was somebody whose name you may recognize, Dr. Brad Buck.
Sure.
They're retiring superintendent. So just around a lot of good people at Waukee. And while I was there, I was encouraged to go back and work on a master's degree in administration with absolutely no intentions of ever becoming an administrator. I proudly announced that in my very first class and am often reminded of that I didn't have any intentions of doing this work. Shortly after I finished, I was recruited by a great colleague, Andy Patee, who's now the Cedar Falls superintendent, for an assistant principalship and the opportunity to work with him in Oskaloosa. And so did that for just 1 year, then transitioned over to Ankeny High School. It was a time of great growth and challenge at Ankeny, and was there during the transition to adding Centennial online. And so that was kind of an interesting experience and a chance to learn with what I would call my all-time favorite head learner. The principal there was Brenda Colby at the time, who's still a great mentor and friend of mine. After leaving Ankeny after 4 or 5 years, I ended up as the high school principal in Carlisle, an opportunity to, again, be in another growing school district, and an opportunity to work with one of my all-time great friends and mentors, Dr. Tom Lane. And since leaving Carlisle, I've been at Pleasantville as the superintendent for the last 12 years. So all of those stops, even though there's a lot of diversity there in size, most have been in growing school districts that have been fairly close to the Des Moines metro area. And I think those have all helped me build a really strong professional network and given me insights on how some of the best school districts in Iowa operate. And so my hope will be to implement elements of all of those that will help shape and inform my leadership and decision making as I start here at SEP.
Sure, great. What drew you to this district specifically? I think I kind of heard in your past answer, but
Yeah, this is a unique spot. I shared this often during my interview and as I've gotten to know more people and more members of the staff, but I can't think of any other school district in Iowa that truly encompasses elements of rural Iowa, suburban, and urban areas. And so Southeast Polk, as you both well know, encompasses all of these elements. And so I've lived and worked in different places, and I'm excited to be somewhere that sort of brings all of them together. And I think my diverse background and experiences in growing school districts will be something that aligns. And so all those things were kind of a draw for me as I looked at this opportunity. I know that you won't appreciate this, but also the chance to take the reins from someone that I hold in high esteem and high regard, Dirk, was too good of an opportunity to pass up. So.
Well, we like to say that we have a little bit of everything that's great about Iowa to offer, and so I think you hit it right there. So, what's something that people might not expect about you?
Yeah, this is a question I wasn't necessarily anticipating. I think my family would laugh because there's really not anything that truly that interesting about me. But as I thought about this, I grew up in a military family in rural, and I mean very rural Northeast Iowa, Wadena, Iowa. I promise you've never heard of it. So my dad was in the Navy, and after he left the Navy, he ran a family business moving houses. And when I say moving houses, I don't mean U-Hauls and boxes. I mean like picking the house up on heavy equipment and moving it down the road. And so 5 generations of my family did that work, and so I'm kind of the trend bucker here. I was the first one that went to college in my family, and so another little tidbit: I grew up in a town of 300 or so people with a class of 33. So I've usually got everybody beat in terms of who graduated with the smallest graduating class.
Sure, sure. How would people who've worked with you describe your leadership style?
Yeah, I think others would describe me as somebody that's visionary, somebody that's driven and a hard worker, but also very collaborative. And yeah, I think that I think that's how they would describe me.
I think that fits. I've known you for over 10 years, and I think that is right on.
I'm also the type of person that, I'm very focused on relationships. I believe that is the most important thing we can do. And as I've gotten to know more people in the district and students and families, I'm just excited to, start to get more acquainted and get my feet under me more during this transition, and just excited to take those traits and start to slowly kind of apply them here at Southeast Polk.
So kind of on that topic, what have you learned about our community so far?
A lot.
I bet.
As you know, I've been onboarding and hovering around the district office now for a couple of months. So I've learned a lot about the district, its successes, but also its challenges. And so, challenges ahead for a growing school district are becoming more apparent. And just kind of I hope a funny side note that people would chuckle about. But one thing I picked up on, both formally and informally, is just the nuance between Altoona and Pleasant Hill, the nuance between Mitchellville and Runnels, and what makes all of them unique, but all of them also part of what makes up Ram Pride. So it's been neat to start to kind of get my feet under me and get acquainted to that, but excited to continue to learn more and be more of service.
Great, great. So what strengths have you seen in this district?
Yeah, the obvious thing is I've made the rounds and been present in as many school buildings and as many events as I can. It's just the quality of the people, the staff especially. I've had the chance to interact with have been awesome. I've been present and around and hanging around since March, and so just a lot of excellent educators and people that obviously care a lot about kids, care a lot about these communities and all their success. So the other neat thing, every community and school district likes to think that there's a lot of pride in what they do, but just driving around this community, the high levels of Ram Pride, the logos are everywhere, the colors are everywhere, and just watching the community support the kids, the school, the activities, the athletics, it's made an impression.
Yeah, one of the first year I was here, one of the things that kind of blew me away was it was not uncommon to go to an away event and have our crowd be larger than the home crowd.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had to laugh, so I've still got a couple more weeks left to wrap up in Pleasantville, and we were doing sort of end of the year stuff, and my office staff came in and gave me a hard time because in the Lost and Found, they found a couple of Southeast Polk Ram shirts that of course they didn't fit, but they brought them in, and the Ram logo is everywhere, apparently even in Pleasantville. So,
do you see opportunities for growth or change?
Yeah, one of the things I've experienced in other places that I'm starting to see here emerge as well is just a growing school district, growing communities presents a lot of opportunity, but also presents some challenges. And so, the need to balance what I would call a systemic approach. So having things that as a school system that we're fundamentally about at our core, but also not being so rigid and aligned to those that it eliminates or tampers down the uniqueness that each building and each community offers. So you want to balance those things. And so that's an opportunity where some elements of systemic district-wide approaches, but also not so rigid that we're losing the elements that make each building and each community unique and special.
Yep, sure. What can families expect from you in terms of communication?
Well, obviously, if they've listened this far into the podcast, they know I'm not a super eloquent speaker. So, but no, I think families could expect to see and hear hear from us often. It's painful to be losing so many good district office people, including our awesome communications coordinator, Jeannie, who's sitting here with us. But I'm excited. We've been able to hire some great staff, some great new colleagues. And so we'll focus on those elements that have made communication from this office so good and the outreach so successful, but also over time fine-tuning some things. And I know Jeannie's got some ideas that she's leaving with us on as she's wrapping up her time with us too. So excited to implement some of those and focus on what has made us successful, but also continue to make sure we're excelling at selling and telling the Southeast Polk story and brand.
You bet. What keeps you motivated in this work?
Yeah, May and June's a great time to ask because no matter what school you're at, you just sat through probably some sort of an awards banquet. You sat through a graduation ceremony of some sort. And so it's a great reminder that being a part, no matter how small, of seeing students, the outcomes for students and the successes in life that we've built and been a small part of, that's what is motivating to me. Or, I know the district is a Leader in Me school. The kids would say it fills my bucket. And so, after attending those special events and graduations and ceremonies, it's a great reminder that having a chance to be a part of something that sets kids up for success in life is an important thing.
Great, great. So what do you do to stay grounded outside of your role as a superintendent?
Yeah, when I'm not at work, I generally like to be outdoors. I enjoy hunting and fishing. I spend a lot of time with my family and kids, and we boat. And every once in a while, I will get out and play some really, really bad golf.
Yep, I'm with you there. So if listeners remember one thing about you after this conversation, what do you hope that it is?
Yeah, I hope people know just really excited to be here and be a part of this. It's a special place, and I'm excited to be here. I'm honored to be here and just ready to hit the ground running hard for the students and staff and community at Southeast Polk Schools. So excited to be here and excited to meet as many people as I can between now and the start of the school year and then get things going.
Well, Dr. Alysworth, thank you for sharing all this information and for joining us today. I know that people will appreciate this opportunity to get to know more about you. It's an exciting time at Southeast Polk, and I'm really looking forward to watching the district continue to grow and succeed under your leadership. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's an honor, and I've been so appreciative, particularly of the two of you, helping onboard me and get me, started off on hopefully the right foot and get my feet under me. And so just know that there's probably many more people I should be thanking, but I'm staring at the two of you. So thank you both for this opportunity to do this. I think this is kind of fun, and I'm excited to keep this tradition going. And I'm excited to be here and appreciate all you've done for me.
Great. Well, that's it for today. Thank you for joining us on this episode of All Things SEP. And as I close out my final podcast before retirement, I do want to take a moment to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you to the Southeast Polk community. Serving this district has truly been the honor of my 35-year career in education. I've been incredibly fortunate to work alongside great people, dedicated staff, inspiring students, supportive family, and a community that deeply cares about its schools. Together we've accomplished so much, academics, activities, finances, facilities, and things that could go way beyond what can truly be measured. But what I'll carry with me most are the relationships, that shared commitment to doing what's best for kids, and the pride that we all feel in Southeast Polk. This is a great place. Thank you for the trust that you placed in me and for the unbelievable support that you've shown our schools over the years. I'll be forever grateful. Take care, and thank you for listening.